discuter de tout ça.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Variant Edition's new releases show. My name is Brandon. I'm sorry I'm late by about 10 minutes. It's been a wild day. It's been a wild week. I should have the camera back a little bit more, but whatever. So, welcome to the show. A lot has been happening, and absolutely, yes, I was not around, and thank you so much. So, you, in fact, can get this very shirt from Variant Edition if you want. It's on our site, or orderable from our site in whatever size you want. I think bear me under my TBR. It's from a outfit called Out of Print, and we can order these shirts through Penguin. It's very cool. Right? So this actually segues nicely into my talk about what I've been up to lately. So Monday, I ended up having a meeting with a new social media person that we've been contracting, basically. So December, you should see a little bit of a change in kind of our social media engagement. I've really wanted to get the store sort of like organized and in order in a lot of different ways, and this is one of them. And that person asked me for a bio, and I kind of stole a little bit of this. I basically explained a little bit about myself. It was basically Brandon Schatz has been part of the comics industry for 18 years. He has won a Schuster Award for the best comic store in all of Canada. He's been nominated for comics journalism. He's been nominated for an Eisner in comics journalism. In his spare time, he watches wrestling and hangs out with his cats. And loves to do some reading. He will be buried under his to be read pile. Which is true, friends. I probably will. I'll put it in my will or something. And my non-descendants, the cats that I have at the time, will have to figure that out. And that social media person who has to do call for actions and is very engaged with how people react to things, because they have to be, it's their job, was like, that was an amazing bit of copy. And yeah, I did kind of steal it just a little bit. But still. So my week in general has been pretty bonkers. On Thursday, I was in New Sarepta, which is about 40 minutes away from where I live, and a little bit southeast of Edmonton. Wee little place. Went to their high school that has 250 students, and was in their library. Now, their high school library is shared with the New Sarepta Public Library. And the high school librarian is also their bus driver. So kind of very Pawnee if you've watched Parks and Rec, but honestly, a really amazing community of people. I really liked the vibes that were happening there, and the store really got some good connections there. I introduced the public librarian to a place called Book Depot, which if you are a business, a school, or a library, you can get a lot of books for a really good price. And honestly, I love giving resources to people. There's an aspect of it where like it's a little bit of eating business for myself, but at the same time, if I provide these people with some resources, it's really going to work out a lot better for people. So, why not? Why not, folks? And yeah, so I was at New Sarepta then, early in the morning, as the folk songs say. And it was a day of from 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. because the public library didn't open until 4 p.m. because it's shared space and people just can't wander into a school. And so it was a little bit of a long day, but made some wonderful connections, met some wonderful people. The community in New Sarepta is absolutely amazing. And then following that, had a great weekend. Hung out with my girlfriend. She's good people, by the way. Even though she has a lot of questions about Batman and his boys, which, to be fair to her, of course. We finished Agatha All Along, and that was a wonderful show. But my week this week has basically been some early morning meetings, doing the social media stuff. And today I was on CBC Radio, Edmonton AM, and CBC News for Edmonton at their 6 p.m. show, talking about how the upcoming Canada Post strike might affect small businesses like my own. For the CBC TV, the news, they talked to me and they talked to a rep from Audrey's. Wonderful people at Audrey's. We really like them and teamed up with them and a bunch of other small independent bookstores for Independent Bookstore Day earlier this year. Absolutely wonderful. And yeah, so if you kind of dig through some of the CBC radio this morning, Edmonton AM, and the CBC Edmonton News, you're gonna find this boy, just my supple voice on the radio, and my supple body on the television. So if you want to see all of that, you can check out those feeds. I'm going to be posting something to our socials about that. Now, you can't actually share the news to Facebook these days. So I'm actually going to post a couple links to my Substack and go around that way. Because I'm a fancy man, friends. Very fancy man. And this week is going to similarly be fairly busy. So, with everything that happened today, I did end up missing a call for a very exciting book coming out, New Gods from DC, that Ram V is writing. My favorite writer right now, currently actively working in comics. And Evan Kegel, who is a great draftsman, a great linesman, draws some of the most beautiful images that I've seen in comics. And they're doing the New Gods based off of Jack Kirby's work. And my God, the pages that I've seen are amazing. And I know shortly I'm going to get to see the contents of the first issue. I'm super, super excited for this team. I'm super, super excited for them to tackle the New Gods concept. And it's all going to be pretty amazing. I'm going to share what I can with you when I can. And this week on Thursday, I'm going to try and help my mom get a sewing machine. that she's been looking for through Facebook Marketplace, so could be interesting. I'm also going to be doing the in-city delivery on that day, and there's also a consultation thing that I have with somebody to help launch a comic for them. And then Friday, I've got some personal things happening, so I won't be at the store. And honestly, it's all just a lot of stuff happening right now. But the good news is the store is actually kicking up, doing pretty good. And I really like that. So to start out, I'm also going to talk about what I was up to a little bit this weekend. Hit a little bit of some antique places with my girlfriend, and I managed to find some of the Archie Spire comics. Now, the Spire comics are wild. They are basically a super Christian ran company, and they licensed the Archie characters for a chunk of time, and they did a whole bunch of different stuff. And I had my girlfriend read the most bonkers one that I have read so far. It's Archie Something Else. The three that I showed you before, I think, are the ones that I picked up this weekend. Archie Something Else is a stunning work, a masterpiece in a certain way. It is super bonkers. It's kind of it's about a news team that's trying to find the seedy underbelly of Riverdale High. And they do this by trying to pursue a lot of different avenues, including talking to a hippie who has decided to, let's see if I can find his signs. So he's starting to go to Riverdale High when the news crew starts getting there. And he is writing signs like, "Down with the system. Homework is for the birds. Who needs teachers? Life is a squirrel cage." Which, oh my goodness. There's also a part where Hell's Angels are running rampant through the school on motorbikes. And there's also this panel, which will live in infamy. Infamy. Brandon, use your words. What's happening there? Bomb scare stuff, by the way. But the news people show up and they're asking Mr. Weatherby, "We'd like to do a special show on your Riverdale High. Tell us about the drug problem here. Do you have much occult activity? Are you students into witchcraft and sex education? What would you do about that?" And Mr. Weatherby goes, "Here at Riverdale, we're searching for truth." And the people who are running the TV station goes, "TV viewers don't want truth. Our most popular shows are crime and violence. Do you have much crime and violence in your school? There's nothing exciting about being good, solid citizens. Show us some perverts. How many radicals do you have?" It is amazing. I love this book so much. Especially there's the through line with the hippie who also wants people to leave lemons alone, boycott turnips, and don't eat knockwurst. But after a conversation with Big Ethel, he discovers God. And as he says, "Well, I'm new here at Riverdale High. You wouldn't believe my past. I've been into everything." And by everything, he means all of this stuff over here. That's a lot. "My folks are divorced, and neither of them pays any attention to me. Life seemed like a lousy trip, and then this chick started to rap. I figured she was a real cornball. But as Big Ethel talked, I realized she was on the level. She was concerned about me. And when she began to share love and Jesus, it was really something else. Suddenly, I had a feeling that I'm worth something, not just some animal crawling through life. So it's pretty wild. Also, this hippie, his name was Legion, and he's also a person who called in a bomb scare to Riverdale because he's a hippie, and he admits it was a rotten thing to do. And the newscasters are aghast. Legion, what about your social concern? You made some pretty vital posters in art class. He says, I realize now that I can't change the things around us until we change things within us. And he goes, more than ever, I'm going to let God work within me. And look, I understand that people have all kinds of attachments in religion and whatnot. This thing is freaking wild. Because I don't think it's helpful. I think it is pretty freaking wild and maybe harmful for people who are wanting to introduce people to Christianity. I bet he does. So that's some of what was happening this weekend. Yeah, I don't think I have much to talk about otherwise in terms of personal life stuff. But I do want to talk about a couple books that have been out before, but I don't know. I think it might be a little pertinent these days. Undiscovered Country. This is from mega writer Scott Snyder and his co-writer Charles Schul with Giuseppe Camuncoli, or as I'm wont to say, Giuseppe Camuncoli, as is how his name is actually pronounced. Remember, folks, if a country committed a fascism, when you abuse their language, it is not racist. That's the thing to say. Anyways, this land was your land. Journey into an unknown region that was once the United States of America, a land that's become shrouded in mystery and literally walled off from the rest of the world for well over a century. After receiving a mysterious summons from inside America, a small expeditionary force enters to investigate, each member seeking their own form of justice, even as they struggle to survive in this strange but deadly continent. So basically the idea behind this is with a lot of what was happening in America, instead of being sort of a global member, they withdrew and lived in their entire lives internally. Now, what that actually did was sort of exacerbate a lot of, very, very clear language there, Brandon. They really exacerbated a lot of what we see today, basically. A lot of division and whatnot. So this is kind of like an American Mad Max. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Mad Max is American. No, you ding-dongs. It is very Australian. And from Australian creators with American actors in a lot of cases. So you kind of get the social commentary that you would on, say, the divisions that we have today, on what isolation does to people, and puts it in a bit of a sci-fi context. We recently got a restock of this, and I'm very excited to be able to get that into people's hands. Also, talking about For No Reason, We Stand on Guard. This is a very Canadian look at some things that are happening. This came out originally, I believe, on July 1st, in the first year that Variant Edition was open, which is 9 years ago. It says 2017, so it was July 1st regardless. Anyways, set 100 years in our future, We Sound Guard follows the heroic band of Canadian civilians turned freedom fighters who must defend their homeland from the invasion by a technologically superior opponent, the United States of America. Now, it turns out we've got a lot of good water. And in this world, America's kind of like really things up. And they don't have a lot of the resources that we still have. And this is a beautiful story. I say beautiful, a hard story about utilizing resources and maybe some of the problems that are to come, because water is going to be a problem. It just is fresh water. Nestle owns a whole bunch of water, the rights to a whole bunch of water, fresh water. And there's a whole bunch of things that happen with that. It's a lot to get into. I read a lot about what's happening in the world. I listen to a lot about what's happening in the world, and things are going to get hard. That's unfortunate. I know you all come here to escape a little bit sometimes, but I also want to showcase a lot of what comics do, what comics can do, what great art does, and it can contextualize a lot of things that are happening today and really showcase not necessarily what's going to happen, but in that way where you can kind of exaggerate and extrapolate on a bunch of ideas. You can instill in people's minds just these basic ideas about what we should be looking out for, what might be hard to wrap our brains around, and you put them in more of an outlandish fashion, and a lot of the ideas can more take root. So there's a lot of great comics like this, and I highly recommend people read this. It is from Brian K. Vaughan, who you might know from Y: The Last Man and Saga, two of the biggest books that have happened in the industry, and Steve Skroce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but who has done a lot of work with the Wachowskis, working on their movies, doing the art for them, including things like The Matrix. We're about to get some single issues, but before that, we're doing the sandwich, baby. It's a new book, biography of Audrey Hepburn. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love Audrey Hepburn and a lot of the movies that she was in. Kind of classic Hollywood stuff. And this really goes through her life in a very beautiful manner. When Audrey Hepburn is mentioned, one thinks of her being beautiful and elegant, of her films and how her image is used to recall something immortal and fashionable. But Audrey was also a little girl who saw the Second World War with her own eyes. A woman who was at times fragile at work and in her private life, with a strong desire for motherhood and, above all, a boundless love for children that would lead her to find her true vocation, far from dancing and acting. She will, in fact, become a UNICEF ambassador and to raise awareness in the world to help minors with difficulty. And a quote at the end here: when I started acting, I didn't have the method on set or on stage. I just pretended to be someone else, like little girls do for fun, and I won an Oscar. All right, single issues. We have the first issue of the new ongoing Star Trek Lower Decks. If you've watched this series on up here, Crave, usually, I think it might have moved to Paramount Plus, you will have gotten a bit of a lighter edge of Star Trek. This series on as a cartoon is ending, but Ryan North, good old Canadian boy, and Derek Charm, who he's worked with many times before on Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and Jughead. Yes, the Archie Jughead. They are putting their forces together to do the new Lower Decks series of comics. This is the place that you will find for new Lower Decks stories that are not going to happen on television anymore. Now, Ryan North also just did a choose your own adventure graphic novel featuring the Lower Decks people. That is a brilliant way of storytelling that he has put together. The new Black Lightning series is happening with Brandon Thomas. That's my name, except for Thomas. And also, he's a black man, and I am definitely not. And Fiso Osio, they have Black Lightning and his family in the spotlight these days with the DC Universe, a little changed from Absolute Power, where Amanda Waller did a fascism and tried to get the entire world under her boot in a lot of ways against the superheroes. That didn't end up happening, and Black Lightning is dealing with a little bit of the aftermath of those events, really fighting for his community. And in a lot of ways, I find that it really speaks to how community works these days, where the change is happening on an individual basis. The higher you go in the structures, you're going to find a push back against changing the structures that keep a lot of people in power. Both folks, I would say, on the left and the right, in terms of politics, they're all trying to maintain a bit of a status quo. The real change, the real help, the real connection that we all have is really from the community, and this really builds that from there. Oh no, I completely understand. And they are in a lot of ways escapes from reality when I do these recommendations. And I do have so many customers who talk to me and go, I'm not really looking to engage with the real world right now. But I like to talk about these things in such a way that sometimes these books connect with us subconsciously, and there's reasons why. And when I talk about books that really kind of have something to say, a lot of times if I don't point that out, people don't really realize they do engage with things on a more organic level. But these days, and this has honestly been variant edition from the start, from the eras when we had a bunch of online harassment because we simply stated that we would not shelf a book from someone who was actively pushing against female representation, LGBTQ representation, and minority representation in comics. He had a book coming out, and we wanted to state quite clearly we would not put that book on our shelves. We would do special orders for people. We would honor people who would want to engage with the book's content. Not that the book's content was against any of those things, but that the creator had actively pushed against and made a whole bunch of content, videos, etc. About that. We stated that we wouldn't have it on shelf because curation as a business and in life, it means something. Having products that might essentially harm members of our community, people who engage with us, is not a place that we want to be. And we had a rough period of time. There was somebody who was at the store actively harassing Danica while I was at a community meeting for the business district that I was a part of, that I am still a part of, but I'm not on the board anymore. I had to race away from there because of what was happening. We had some friends who had to show up to help her. And how to talk about this. And in general, during that time, we also had a break-in. We didn't like the timing of what all that was happening. And honestly, when you see a lot of rhetoric that's happening today, there's a lot of threats. I don't like it. So the store, myself, I've always been active about pushing against passive engagement on our part. I will never push on someone who does want to engage with things passively. But I'll say right now, I have a platform that people end up listening. Something that the social media person told me is, and honestly, the therapist that I was seeing both ended up telling me, is I am a thought leader in the industry. The industry has given us an award for the best comic store in Canada, has given me an award, not given me an award, nominated me for best comics journalism in the industry for our, essentially what's our Oscars. I have a platform and I'm not going to be passive about it. Because I feel like that's how we get to some of the places where people don't feel safe, where people who are coming into my store are saying, this is where I feel safe. It shouldn't just be variant edition where some people feel safe, or a limited number of places that people feel safe. And it's tough. It's tough to engage in that way. And again, this is not to point fingers at anybody. We all engage with the world that is most healthy for us. This is where I kind of feel where I am and where I push through. Which again can be fairly difficult. Lyndon, thank you so much for that comment. And yeah, this is a little bit of just like a personal reaction to how things have gone in the world lately. I just want people to know that when folks come into Variant Edition, you can find escape in one way or another. You can lose yourself in some stories, or you can escape kind of the harsher worlds around you, or feel a connection through a story that really speaks to something inside of you. That's what I really want to do. I want to connect people with the places that either feel cathartic or helpful or just make them feel good. I want to connect all of you with your next favorite stories that are going to bring you forward, that are going to push you forward in one way or another. And so that's really what I'm trying to do in this crazy business. We have Psylocke. This is a new focus on the character from the X-Men comics. I am going to go through these very quickly because I really rambled for a while here. This is from Alicia Wong, who has done a lot of Marvel stuff with Asian protagonists because she can speak to the experience, and this is a take on that specific aspect of the Psylocke character. And you find a lot of connections with the X-Men line and a lot of identity. Arcbound, this is from Tom Hardy. Yes, that Tom Hardy from the Hollywoods. Scott Snyder. Yes, that Scott Snyder from writing all the big books, including Undiscovered Country. And currently Absolute Batman. Second issue is coming out this week. Don't miss it because it's going to be really tough to find in a lot of places. Arcbound is a brilliant sci-fi story that I'm trying to remember the specifics right now. I've kind of wandered off my way. Let me bring this up, and in the meantime, we've got the new G.I. Joe series here. Is from the Duke creative team, kind of like a prelude series to this new G.I. Joe series of Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley. They have put together a new G.I. Joe team that has a few surprises, including is there certain members of Cobra that might be part of G.I. Joe for some reason? That seems weird. Were the last couple pages redacted for retailers so that they couldn't find out about the shocking ending? That seems weird. There's a whole bunch of different covers for this. I love the art in this. Jordi Belaire's providing the colors, and you can also have some blank covers where you can do your either Cobra or G.I. Joe affiliation. You have a lot of covers from some of the biggest names in the industry. You got some shinies, baby. Some Jenny Frison, both in shiny and not shiny. And a whole lot more. This is for folks who have been really enjoying a lot of what Skybound is doing with the Transformers, with G.I. Joe, and their shared universe where they kind of intermingle. Now, back to Arcbound. All these creators are bringing you a bold sci-fi saga in a future where Earth has become a barren wasteland. Zintech harnesses the unmatched energy of chromium to assert its dominance across the stars. When Kai, a rising star mediator in Zintech's army, gets unexplained message from a mysterious entity, everything he thinks he believes is thrown into question and leaves him to explore what is truly means to be human in a world where the boundaries of technology and identity blur. So it is about being a representation, say, of a corporation versus being a personal person. Yeah. Thank you so much for those words. I really do appreciate it. Anytime I hear Absolute, etc., I keep on thinking that they're cross-promoting a vodka brand. I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's Russian Standard. So there is I think it's the first episode of my brain is not remembering. I keep on thinking Behind the Bastards and Kyle O'Reilly. That's not the podcast name, and it's not the host. Under the Influence by Terry O'Reilly. CBC show. I'm feeling it tonight. A CBC show that is about advertising. There was a group in Russia, let's say Russian Standard, who talked about or who had a vodka, have a vodka. But in Russia, it's illegal to advertise for alcohol. So the person who owned this vodka started a bank called the same name, advertised the bank. And because they had the same name, there was sort of a bit of a wink wink of just like, hey, you know what this is. You know what we're talking about. It's the best. You should do this. You should have this. And kind of got around some advertising things. Under the Influence is a really great source of learning how advertising works and a lot of the neat caveats that happen with it. I agree. One of my absolute favorites. Ranging from like pop culture bastards to like classic bastards and a lot of the things that you don't know about all those people. If there's a chance that the Baroness cover of the G.I. Joe, I would like it. I can make that happen. bow, 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 da, da, do, da, 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 da. Okay, I've got that for you, Ben. Yeah, and I can make that happen too. I think the Destro one hasn't come out yet, but the previous three, absolutely. And you are not wrong. I'm only halfway through the second issue. It continues to build. I love what's been happening with that absolute line. Every book's a banger. And they're building some really great stories for our times. This song is played a lot on this feed. So I've only got it in my head. We have Starved Rock number 1. When a group of hunters accidentally kill a famed local deer, an ancient deity is awakened, and the only way to survive is to venture deeper into the forest. This was a book that was requested to be ordered by some folks. It is a deep horror comic. Has a bit of mythology to it and kind of a wilderness folklore, and is pretty freaking cool. This book is one of those ones that surprised me a little. I liked what I was seeing in terms of the art and whatnot, but what I didn't realize was they sort of did an effect with the paper in here, which really adds to the story. So you have this kind of like weird pulp magical realism horror mystery in Calavera PI, and the texture that's on the paper and the grit that is in the colors really adds to the experience, which I love. Sometimes it takes a dead man to crack the case. From the Rising Star team of Marco Finnegan, with the shadow-shrouded alleys of Hollywoodland to solve the mystery of Calavera, a newly resurrected private investigator whose first case is about to straddle the blood-soaked boundaries between the living and the dead. It is 1925, and Juan Calavera died a hero after a career spent outside of the law defending the Chicago barrios, where the police refused to operate. He earned a reputation for fearlessness and a gunshot in the stomach. Now, 5 years later, on Dia de los Muertos, his restless spirit has been summoned from the grave to help a desperate former colleague unravel a kidnapping a little too close to home. With only days to solve the case before he is called back to the underworld, can Calavera reveal the identity of the masked human trafficker known as La Fantasma before tragedy strikes again, and solve the mystery of his own murder in the process? Maybe he can. Speaking of Absolute Batman, we have the Noir edition here. This is part of a line that is going to reproduce sort of the black and whites and inks of a lot of the series coming out. I have an extremely limited amount of copies of that. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 61, which really kicks off a big new arc from Joe Kelly, featuring Dr. Doom as a big part of it and a lot of Doctor Strange stuff. We have Battle Action number 1. This is the third volume of a Battle Action series, as you can see here. But we have here is some stories by Garth Ennis and Brian K. Vaughan, who you might know from We Stand on Guard, Saga, and Why the Last Man, tackling some of the older British concepts with more of sort of a war vibe. This is from the folks that published 2000 AD and own a lot of the back catalog of essential, awesome British comics like Battle and Action. We have Friday Foster, a big collection of comics history. The Friday Foster comic strip is the story of a former nightclub camera bunny turned photographer's assistant turned fashion model with an innate inclination to help others and a natural beauty who that makes her a magnet for men. Friday often finds herself in some very sticky situations and world-class adventures. For the first time ever, the Sunday editions of this groundbreaking comic are collected here, commonly cited as the first nationally syndicated mainstream newspaper comic strip with a black lead character. The book includes remastered color strips, interviews, essays, publicity memorabilia, and much more that give you a comprehensive look into the world of the character, including an interview with the original illustrator and a foreword by Jim Lawrence Jr., the creator's son. The awe-inspiring art and exciting stories that will transport readers into an era of the 1970s. Fascination and intrigue that they will not soon forget. And finally, this beast, also part of comics history. It is the entirety of Poe Clan. As it says here, the complete 1970s run of this best-selling manga, which helped create the Shoujo and Shonen Ai readership, and has been adapted into other media in English for the very first time. So for those of you who don't know, Shoujo and Shonen Ai are huge genres in manga. Shonen is sort of like more of the romance aspect of manga, Japanese storytelling, and you have these two beautiful hardcovers here. The Poe Clan is a race of undead who feed on the energy of the living while away away the centuries in a village of roses, where time and geography have no meaning. Circumstances lead to a brother and sister, Edgar and Maribel, being initiated into the clan earlier than planned. They're just in their early teens. The Poe Clan, the 70s box set narrative, spans the mid 1700s to the 1970s. Generations of human lives and profoundly affected by Edgar, Maribel, and Ellen Twilight, a 14-year-old whom Edgar embraces in the 1800s. Oda Hiyago explores what it means to live and die, to have loved and to have lost. This is an absolutely gorgeous book. I'm so excited for someone to absolutely fall in love with this and experience something absolutely wonderful. All right, folks, that was a lot today, and still a little bit under an hour. That's honestly pretty good for me. All right, folks, that means it is time for this. It is our magic mirror where we look through and see all of you wonderful people out there and say, hi, we see you. We think you're keen, and we hope you are doing well. I'm looking out today and I'm seeing Carl. Hello, Carl. I'm seeing Lyndon. Hi, Lyndon. I'm seeing Ben. Hey, Ben. I'm seeing the lowest trees have tops. The lowest trees have tops. It's presented like a name, so I was like, the lowest tree has tops. I'm looking out and seeing the lowest tree has tops. I'm seeing Theodores. Hello, Theodores. I'm seeing Sean. Hello, Sean. It's been absolutely brilliant to be with you all tonight. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you are all coping with whatever you need to cope with. I hope you are absolutely thriving in the world in general. And I hope to see you all again sometime soon. I've gone off the rails, as is what happens. I didn't even sip any of this. This is where there's some alcohol in this. It's been a wild day. It's been a wild week. Folks, I hope you're all doing well. I hope that if you're having a tough time, that you know that we're here. I hope if you're not having a tough time that you know that we're here. And I hope that you all know that there's absolutely no judgment, no matter how you're feeling, because this is how the world works. There's wanes, there's waxes, there's absolutely the breadth of human experience. It comes at us all, and we just kind of deal with things as they come to us. We're all living, we're all doing our best, we are all being people in this world, and I hope you know that we are all here together, and we can all make each other better just by supporting each other and being there for each other. So that's the show. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all again very soon, and I hope that you are doing well, and hope that if you're not, that you know that we're here for you. All right, folks. Talk to you all again soon. Bye.